very clear that whatever work he is doing. But what did Aurobindo do in yoga that is so extraordinary? You see, he did three things. He did three very, 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 very significant things. That is what I want to talk about. The first thing he did was he created this whole system called integral yoga. Now, integral is a level higher than being holistic. Because when you are integral, it is not just you, it is you, the world, and the larger dimension. Holistic it just means that you are in perfect harmony with your environment, but Aurobindo didn't want that. He wanted that you keep evolving, you keep being more, you keep being larger, greater. So that is what they call there is an aspect of uniqueness in spiritual realization, there is an aspect of relatedness in spiritual realization, and there is an aspect of transcendence. So these three qualities had to be integrated. Uniqueness, relatedness, and transcendence. Uniqueness is you. How far can you take you, your body, your mind, your abilities, your siddhis, your sadhana? How far can you develop as a person? But will that remain confined to you? What about your relationship to the outside environment? What about your relationship to people? What about your relationship to family? That is relatedness. How does one relate? And then there is transcendence, which is what is your connection to what is not possible to say in words, which means the metaphysical or the divine, whichever word you want to use. So these were the three aspects, and basically he said something very unique. You see, at the time, the normal idea about yoga and spirituality was that it is a specialized thing. But he changed that. He completely went back to the original text of yoga, Vedanta, Upanishads, Vedas. In fact, he is the first man who really wrote very significantly on the Vedas. His book called The Secret of the Veda should be just mandatory reading. And he has written essays on the Gita, that also should be mandatory reading. These two books, for anybody who claims to be interested in Indian culture, spirituality, without these two books you cannot be. So, but he said something more. He said yoga is not a specialized activity to be done in ashrams. And one of his books begins with what I consider to be probably the greatest sentence in the Indian language, English language. It says, all life is yoga. Anything that you do, if you bring the right awareness to it, the right attitude to it, that becomes yoga. Because yoga actually means to join. You to the divine, you to God, you to something larger than yourself, you to that ultimate consciousness. So all life is yoga. So he liberated yoga from this narrow business of yoga can be done only in particular hothouse environment, or if you have done sadhana or you have taken sannyasa or you need to do. Because there were very stringent requirements, In many ashrams before they would allow you to meditate, they would test you. They would make you sit in asana and they would put soil in your lap and then they would put some chana. You know chana? They put chana in your lap and then moisten it and they say we'll come back when it has sprouted. And then they would teach you yoga, pranayama, whatever. And if you move in any way, it won't sprout. So you have to stay absolutely still. Now how many people do you think could pass that kind of test? So what he was saying, what he said yoga is not something that is a specialist activity. Yoga is the core and the foundation and the heart and the soul and the everything of Indian culture. Everything that we do, every ritual, every aspect of daily living, everything is designed to connect us to that larger consciousness, and we need to bring that back. And one of the big things he saw that most people in yoga or spirituality reject the body, and he was the first person to say cannot be done. The body is your sole instrument. The body is your sole instrument for achieving. If you have such contempt for it, if you keep rejecting the body and its requirements in this manner, then you are sabotaging yourself. You are creating that much more inertia, you are creating that much more weight you have to carry around. So he was the first person to say that this whole rejection of the body, and in fact the whole rejection of day-to-day life, just normal, ordinary living, which had become the criteria, that tyaga, sannyasa, vairagya, And he was like, there is no need for all these external dikhava vairagyas. Internal. What he used to say is, whatever is available to you for use, use fully. And then if it is no longer available, don't think about it. That attachment to things, that stickiness to things is the problem, not the things themselves or the utility of the things themselves. Then the other big gift, this was the first gift that he gave, where he said that all life is yoga. Everything that you do, if you do with consciousness, if you do with awareness, you can make that into your yoga. Of course, he was not against meditation, pranayama, and such thing. He was very insistent on all that. What he was basically saying is that yoga is not something that you do at specialized times. Yoga is what you do every moment. And that was a huge thing. It was a complete